Hello and welcome everyone to Leader Live. I'm Councillor Patrick Harley, Leader of the Council, and with me is Councillor Paul Bradley, Deputy Leader, who will be chatting with me about your questions and providing you with some useful answers. During this 1 hour session, we hope to answer as many of your questions as we can. This is very much about listening to you and how we can help you. And if you have any personal service requests, such as signing up to Green Bin collections or reporting fly tipping, you can contact us via My Dudley, which can be found on the Council's webpage. Just a couple of housekeeping points before we start. Please be polite. We're here to help you, and please be patient while we get round to answering as many of your questions as possible. If you have any questions, please type them into the comments box so that we can see them, and then we'll discuss those as they come through. Now it really is over to you. Paul?
Thank you, Leader. Well, while we're waiting for the first questions to come in, usually takes a minute or two, I think we'll have a talk about perhaps the local plan. Are there any updates on the local plan we can offer?
Well, as people may or may not know, our local plan is purely brownfield first, no green belt or green spaces in there. It's now with the inspectorate. It's getting ready to go to public examination. The planning officers are working extremely hard, making sure that we have a robust defence of our local plan, so that when it is challenged by developers and landowners who do want to build on Greenbelt, that we can put up that robust defence, present a plan and have the inspectorate hopefully agree with us so that that plan can go forward and we can preserve our Greenbelt for future generations.
Yes, so what I understand, it's actually been very positive over the country, such as the Wirral in Cheshire. Have we got a chance of having that happen in Dudley?
I would certainly hope so. It does give us some hope because the Wirral were about 3,000 homes in negative numbers, so they were 3,000 short on their overall need. We are about 700 short, and we are confident that by liaising with nearby neighbours such as Shropshire, South Staffs, etc., across the wider Black Country, that we can make that 700 up.
Okay. What happens if we're not very lucky and we have to start all over again? What are our housing numbers, and what can we build every year that's reasonable?
Well, this current plan that we have submitted, although a robust plan, it is based on the 2024 planning litigation that the previous local government minister, Michael Gove, set. That did allow us a bit more freedom. Unfortunately, if this one falls and fails, then we will be subject to the new guidelines, which means that we have an increase of over 122%. Yeah. Now, if that happens, if we were to hand over every bit of Greenbelt, every bit of green space, we would still not satisfy those numbers. So I think it is absolutely vital that this local plan, as it is, passes, is accepted, and then we can move on with building the homes that Dudley needs, but on brownfield, not Greenbelt.
Absolutely. So the main message to get out to locals is if this our plan is not approved, then we will be building on Greenbelt.
That unfortunately may well be the case, but as I said, I'm hopeful that the plan will pass and that we can continue this brownfield only policy. But if we don't, I think it is an absolute disaster, not just for us now, but for future generations to come, because once it's gone forever.
Okay, thank you. And the next steps, examination in public, that's imminent, I understand?
It is now. The officers are preparing, as I said, a robust defence of our plan as we speak.
Okay, thank you. At the moment, we don't have any questions at the moment, so... the marketplace in Dudley. We've just recently approved some, it's actually started, the work has started on £150,000 UK SPF for views of town. That means UK shared prosperity money that comes in from the combined authority through the government, and the work has got underway. How do you think it will help the town centre?
Well, I think we have to change the way we look at town centres from the 1970s till now. 1970s, even 1980s, town centres were thriving. People did their small shop, the big shop, in their local town centres. Everyone is guilty of it. We all have our phones. We all jump on our phones and do shopping, online shopping on our computers. So that high street environment has changed. The change we're making to the marketplace hopefully will be that little bit different. So we bring in additional footfall into that town centre and into that marketplace, which hopefully will make it thrive, because we definitely need to do something different to what we've done in previous times.
Yeah, hopefully that will be a very positive. After I think the actual end date's June the 20th, so hopefully I think it's well progressed at the moment, or starting to get there, and hopefully that will bring benefits to the town centre. Leader, we have a first question come in, and it's Dear Mr. Harley, my elderly parents have been having serious problems with ASB with the next door neighbour who is a council tenant. My elderly parents have been enduring this for years now, and 3 of your councillors have tried to sort this out, but unfortunately to no avail. It got that bad at one point my parents moved out due to the abuse. Further to this, police have attended many times, and one of your tenants threatened to kill one of the other neighbours in front of them. This, in fact, was also witnessed by many neighbours that were looking out of their windows. I've seen something floating around online saying that you're no longer going to tolerate ASB and intend to crack down on this type of behaviour. Can you please intervene and help in this case, as it simply isn't fair on my elderly parents to be abused from the hours of 5:30 to midnight on a near daily basis?
I'm really regrettable that your elderly parents have to go through that trauma day in, day out. It really is. I would ask that you can forward some more detail through to us through the link that the officers present are providing, and then I can personally pick that up as soon as I possibly can. Onto the wider issue of antisocial behaviour, it really does rub me up the completely wrong way when we have to literally jump through, I will call them legal hoops, in order to bring a satisfactory end to antisocial behaviour. And the edge always seems to be with the person who is committing the ASB, not the poor tenants who are subject to it. And we have to really prove these cases, because if we take a case to a judge or a magistrate and they say you haven't got sufficient evidence, that case is lost and that tenant remains in place. And I think that is right in one sense, that we don't want to evict tenants that are falsely accused. But when you've got a cast iron case, I think that we should adopt a zero tolerance policy, that if residents misbehave, if they can't pay their rent on time, if they don't look after their gardens, if they make their neighbours' lives an absolute misery by carrying out some of the behaviour patterns that you've mentioned in your email to Paul, then we really should clamp down really hard and have that zero tolerance policy. Now, that will take some funding to set up, because we will have to be prepared at some point to lose some of those cases that we take to court. But I am ready as leader to take that stance on a zero tolerance attitude and help protect and make the lives of our well-behaved tenants much more better than what they are now.
Okay, and I'm sure you're supported by the administration on that. We have another question from a William Reed, and the question is as follows. The Castle and Crystal Credit Union went bust exactly a year ago. It was set up for Dudley MBC employees in the early 1990s, then was open to all residents. What caused this demise, do we know?
I'm not an expert on this, Mr. Reid, but what I do know is I don't think there were a lot of people participating in this particular credit union, and I think what happened in the end is it simply, I think it just died a natural demise because of the lack of people participating and contributing.
Right, so thank you. We have a question from Teresa Hughes, and why do we have so many potholes? Some months old, and when will they be filled?
Well, I can't answer on specifics, but what I can say is we have made tremendous strides on the main carriageways and highways, which has been our full attention has been on those, on the main carriageways, which the majority of motorists use. So we've really concentrated on those these last 12, 18 months, and I believe we have made significant progress. Where we haven't made progress because of our attention has been elsewhere on the main carriageways is the estate roads. And of course, if you live on an estate in King Swingford, in Sedgley, in Cosley or somewhere in Stourbridge, These are the roads at the end of the day when you finish work that you turn into the estate. Those are the ones that you notice more and more often because you pass them at least twice a day on the way to work or on the school run. We have sufficient funding coming in now, and I believe that now that we are on top of the main carriageway repairs, we can now start to turn our attention to the smaller estate roads, which I think is the main bugbear with residents. So, not a brilliant answer for you, but I think one which I hope fills you with confidence that as the next few months come upon us, we'll have the funding in place and, more importantly, the plan to deal with the smaller estate roads, which I think are the bugbear with most residents.
Yeah, I think one of the problems with potholes is we will never ever solve this problem with the amount of cars on the roads these days, but we can do our very, very best to alleviate the situation.
Right.
We have over 700 miles of Dudley roads in the borough, so it is a difficult one, Teresa. Sorry. We have another question in from Mr. Weller. Is it sensible, let alone competent, to be spending over £1 billion on only 10 kilometres of tramway on some of the already built but unused 56 kilometres of the UK's principal mainline railway of national strategic significance according to Network Rail and the Department for Transport? Is this value for money?
I know Mr. Weller of old. He's a regular contributor and very passionate about our railways, past and present. But on this occasion, Mr. Weller is wrong. It is good value for money. Not only is there a transport case for taking the metro extension from Wednesbury to Merry Hill, there is also a absolute, I think, overwhelming regeneration case, business case, for taking the metro from Merry Hill to Brierley Hill High Street. And across Europe and elsewhere in the world, where you have these metro extensions and links, right across that metro route, there is increased house building, increased new businesses set up, more footfall, more businesses, more people making use of that transport extension. And I think this is a good thing for Dudley. We're the only town, I think, in the UK that has 2 train stations named after it, and yet they are not in our borough. And I think that is wrong. And I think the metro extension, once complete in full, will provide much needed footfall. It'll have people coming into Dudley, into Brierley Hill, and I think will be an absolute valuable asset. To answer directly, that investment is well worth and really value for money.
Okay, so to answer Mr. Weller, it's the infrastructure, once it's in place, the connectivity between all the major towns and the economy that builds with the regeneration as a whole, that will benefit.
Yeah, you have to look at the metro project as a whole, not just little parts of it in isolation, but as a whole. You are absolutely right. It will be well worth it to this borough, and it will serve generations to come.
Yeah, so it's not just about a tramway,
not
it's
at all.
about everything that's around it. Thank you. We have another question, Leader, and it's from Steve Price. Can Netherton Arts Centre be kept in public ownership?
Regrettably, I don't think it can. Many people have tried. The council's tried. We've put it out to tender. We've had several voluntary groups, from churches to, I think, drama groups that have expressed interest, and none of us have managed to get a deal over the line. So, regrettably, I don't think that's feasible. Although I live in hope that even at the 11th hour and 59th minute, that something could possibly be done. But this is more your portfolio, where I believe you've had a lot of involvement in this.
Yes. It did go out to internal consultation, and it did come back that it could go out to tender for sale or lease. The actual tender itself, I'm not up to date with what's actually happening at the moment, but I think we had one interested party. At the moment, the actual building, which is an absolutely beautiful building, it's being used for storage from the Dudley Performing Arts. So we really do need to do something with it. I'm sure there will be some planning considerations going forward if it did go for sale, but surely it could still possibly go for lease. And you know, so but other than that, it's still actually a live application, so I'm not sure.
And what I would add on that, we've got the same thing with the old Dudley Museum in Dudley Town Centre in Stone Street. That has been sold. It's in private ownership, but they are working painstakingly to restore it to its former glory. And they are doing a far better job than the council ever could. And I would hope that if somebody does purchase or lease on a long term the Netherton Art Centre, that they also lovingly restore it to its former glory, because you're right, it's an absolutely beautiful building.
It's about the protection of the building fabric. Yeah, I agree, totally agree. We have another question from Mark Hedges. Will the council be including the borough's theatres in the arts initiative to uphold mental health, mental well-being for the people?
Hello, Mark. Thanks for that question. In a nutshell, I think all aspects of either entertainment or well-being should be included in that policy, in that strategy, I should say. And we have some exciting things happening across the board. Not too far from here, we are awaiting a planning application for a 3,000 capacity ice rink. We have the entertainment hub in Stonecrete Square with the aforementioned former Dudley Museum. And I think when all these things are in place, and we have quite a thriving town hall, which is next door to where we are now. We've also got the reopening of the bistro, which connects itself to the town hall and is a stone's throw away from the old Dudley Museum. All those things combined, I think, help create the conditions for what could be a really good nighttime economy, and that should include also theatre. So in a nutshell, to answer your question, yes.
Yes, absolutely. Totally agree. We have another question, and it's from Marlene Watson. Does the leader agree that a public meeting where Dudley Borough residents can voice concerns, opinions and even suggestions face to face, this would be organised and very beneficial to many that totally feel disconnected in the past, present and future plans of the area? I feel it needs this to stop and continue the demise of Dudley Borough. Surely you would not be afraid of confrontation face to face as the leader of a transparent listening council. A public meeting, please. Residents have never been afforded this.
Well, I would completely disagree with those remarks. The public, have their opportunity to speak at every single local election. And since 2017, they've returned a Conservative administration with myself as leader. So I have no fear about ducking out of conversations with the public at large. We're also doing this here this evening, and although we're not face-to-face with the public, we are very much in the public eye. I am happy to attend any public meeting. I've attended several public meetings over the years where the crowd has been absolutely warm to me, but they've also been extremely hostile at other meetings. And I don't see what a meeting organised for the sake of it, for people to blow off hot steam, would resolve. However, we have a Towns Council. We have one in Dudley, brought about because of the Levelling Up Fund and the Towns Funds. We also have one in Brierley Hill. They are well attended by people who are living there. They are business people, they are local residents, they are community leaders, they are all the people that Marlene Watson has just alluded to. And they play a very, very fruitful and active role in making sure that the council is held accountable, that the council and councillors and officers make the right decisions on how to spend money that has come from government, ultimately through the taxpayer, so that we spend that money wisely, not only in Brierley Hill, but also in Dudley Town Centre. So what Marlene is asking for, in essence, is already happening through the town councils and the towns councils funds and groups. And Brierley Hill has a very active one, very positive one. It has a very active chair, former council leader, Tim Sunter. And we also have a very active one here in Dudley Town Centre too. And, for people like Marlene, if they really want to get involved, find out the details and apply to sit on that board and have your say.
Thank you, Leader. I think I was the chair, and there were no fewer than I'd got to say about between, and it was a very interesting night. I'll say that. Thank you, Marlene. The next question is from Carl Swain. Mr. Swain says, "Why have age restrictions been removed on some, if not all, council homes? When we moved into ours, there was a minimum age of 55, and it was a lovely, quiet community. Now we have younger residents, and the smell of drugs is horrendous. We sometimes have to close our windows to keep the smell out. Please reintroduce age restrictions so that older residents can feel safer too."
I don't know the details, Carl. I would imagine you're alluding to bungalows and dwellings, premises like that. And I'm disappointed. I thought the age restriction was still in place, in all honesty. And I'm at that age myself where, if I wanted to, I could bid for a council bungalow. Rapidly approaching that age. And I understand why age restriction is important. And if it's not in place, then, again, as part of our zero tolerance approach to all things antisocial behaviour, I believe that this is key to that as well. It's about setting the right scene and having youngsters with young families, etc., living in apartment blocks or flats with elderly residents. I think it just doesn't mix. And I think lowering the age for people to apply for bungalows also, unless there is a key medical condition, also I don't think sits well with residents nor myself. So thank you for that, and I will certainly look into that.
Yeah, thank you. We have a question from Simon Cooper. Mr. Harley, Dudley Council has been effectively declared bankrupt under your watch. Why haven't we seen your resignation as the leader of the council? When a leader or manager oversees failure in any capacity, surely they are the ones who should pay the price for it.
Well, sorry, Mr. Cooper, but you've been woefully misinformed. We have not had a 114. We are not, or have never been, anywhere near issuing a 114. We had some very serious issues with the budget process around 12 months, 18 months ago. These were, by and large, caused by adult and children's social care, ever-rising costs. However, we have got to grips with that. We have really had an overhaul of the senior management team that perhaps weren't looking for the savings where they should be. We've managed to rectify that. Dudley Council recently set a new budget in March, not just for 1 year, but for a full 5 years until March 2030. That budget allows us to put reserves back into our reserves by up to the tune of £5 million per year. We haven't closed one single leisure centre, one single library, and we are continuing to invest in roads. We have a regeneration programme that is still purging ahead full steam. That is not a record of failure, it is a record of success. And if you judge our financial position against those of other neighbouring authorities, we are well ahead of the game. A lot of the press likes to talk about near bankrupt Dudley Council struggling for financial reasons. That is simply so wide of the mark, but I'm happy to put that record straight.
Thank you, Leader. I think it's worth mentioning this is a national problem, not just a local one. We have another question from Ailey Evans. Why are houses being sold off in Dudley instead of giving them to mother and child who needs it?
I think what Hayley's possibly referring to are the houses that are declared surplus to requirements. And the reason we do this, Hayley, is there has to be a point where if it costs far too much to remedy and repair a house and bring it up to an acceptable standard, the council will never ever get that money back through the rent that it charges. And in order to make sure that we can provide still suitable homes for people, I think the best policy is to sell those off. We normally sell them off en bloc, and I think to date the council has probably received in excess of £5 million, probably more than that by now, for those surplus properties. And that money then is reinvested into our current council stock, and as and when we can, into building and purchasing new properties that are fit for purpose. And remember, a lot of our council's housing stock is approaching 80 to 100 years old. At some point, we will have to replace the vast majority of it, and that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Thank you. We have a question from Nikki Patchett.
Mm-hmm.
Can you confirm that as there has been no consultation with businesses, as had been promised, that the phase 2 of the parking scheme, in example, charges for on-street parking, has been shelved?
No, I can't guarantee. Was it Nicola?
Nikki.
I can't guarantee that, Nikki, because actually the leader or deputy or cabinet haven't been consulted on the second phase yet. What I can say on free car parking, I was the opposition leader who campaigned heavily for some aspect of free car parking. So it goes against the grain for me to be the council leader that scrapped that 2 hours. But as I remonstrated with the previous caller with 2, when we are faced with financial difficulties, We have to do everything that is possible in our own power to remedy that situation and make sure that we can produce a balanced and legal budget. We've done that. However, the recovery has been far better and more successful and far quicker than any of us envisaged. In fact, it's been so quick, you've still got callers calling in thinking that we're on the verge of bankruptcy, when in fact we're not. So that's how quick it's been turned around. So am I hopeful that at some point in the future we can do something with car parking? Of course I am. But that will take a lot of liaising with Cabinet colleagues, with officers, and indeed, as you alluded to, with the local business leaders too. So watch this space, and hopefully we can come to a happy conclusion at some point in the future.
Okay. The next question is from Jackie Jones. Councillor Harley, when are you going to recognise over 1,000 victims who died of COVID in the Dudley area with a memorial as promised?
There is a memorial, Jackie, as you well know, and that is at Russell's Hall. I think that is the centre point as where it should be. I think this council has recognised what happened during COVID. We have had many meetings. We've had many meetings of the great and good and of the public. We've recognised the contribution that our residents, our employees, staff from hospitals made to their contribution to the pandemic. We held a MusicCom event at Himley. We gave free attendance to all those people involved. You know, I think we have done what we can. I think what is important now is to move on. And this council did recognise the contribution that its residents made and employees made. There was a full scrutiny, huge, I think, 3-day inquest investigation into how the council reacted to COVID. And we came out, the employees came out with glowing colours. This was one authority that delivered the grants that it should have delivered to businesses, to local residents. We never ran out of PPE. In fact, we had so much PPE coming in, it was coming out of our ears. We actually managed to provide PPE not only to the care homes that we manage, but also to private care homes throughout the borough. So I'm proud of our record on COVID, and I'm proud of the fact that we do recognise the contribution everybody made. And as I've said, there is a memorial, and that's outside Russell's Hall Hospital.
Yes, and I think it's from a non-party political stance. I think it's worth noting that Councillor Kieran Casey was working on the rainbow, and that was for the COVID victims of the Dudley Borough.
Indeed.
The next question, Leader, is from a Joanne Marie. Can you please offer a consultation for SEN parents in regards to the appalling transport system and cuts that are happening? Why do we not have anyone with SEN experience dealing with this?
I would argue the fact that in the education department, that we have children's services department, we do have people there with experience of SEND. We really do. Unfortunately, the cost of that transport is going through the roof year on year on year. So things have to change. And although I sympathise and I recognise the issues that parents face with people with SEND, and I was the governor of the Briar School for many years, thoroughly enjoyed my time there. It was a humbling experience to be a governor at that school, and the contribution that the kids' parents and staff make to those children's lives can never be understated. But there is an ever-increasing cost to that transport system, and we have to look at different ways of delivering it. We have to still deliver what is a statutory service, but we have to find different ways. Now, there will be some children who have transport from home to school, for example, who may well be able to use buses. Would it be feasible for all children to have a bus pass? Of course it won't. But if some can, then they should be, because that will also aid their ability to deal with what comes in later adult and adolescent life. So it's a little thing such as that, but I think it's one issue that could greatly help, not only financially, but also I think for the betterment of these young people. But it's not an easy answer. There are no easy options. It is a tough issue to deal with, not only from a financial point of view, but also from an emotional point of view, because we've got to remember that there are people's lives that are being affected by any decision that the council makes or doesn't make. But as for having that involvement and being consulted. There will be a consultation exercise, and I would hope that all parents play a full and fruitful part in that process.
Thank you. The next question is from a Katie Shinton. If Dudley Council are selling council houses because they need thousands of pounds worth of work needed, why is it that when I moved into my council house 6 years ago, no work was done on it at all, and I'm supposed to pay out my own pocket for the work needed?
Well, Katie, what I'm going to say is that I'm a former council tenant. Some of these homes are simply not fit to live in, and you would not want to live in them. Therefore, it is right, when we can't put the investment needed, that we bring in people who can. However, I might say something else that may be controversial and you may not like. When I was a council tenant, if a wall needed plastering, I didn't call the council to do that. I got my wife to do it because she's far better at these things than I. I am absolutely useless with my hands. She can plaster, she can paint, she can paper hang. She did those sort of jobs. And it was far better than calling in the council, who I would have had to wait months and months for the work to be completed. So we decided to do it ourselves. And I think if more people did that, then I think there will be a far better place.
The next question is from a Mr. Stan Hollis. When a councillor leaves the party that they were elected for, why isn't a by-election called, as the constituents of the ward end up with something that they didn't vote for?
I can sympathise with this. I've had members of my group leave to go to the Labour Party. We've had some go independent. We've had members from the Labour group go independent and to the Liberal Democrats, etc. And that has always gone on for all of time. Unfortunately, a councillor gets to serve a 4-year term, and the only way they can be moved is if they do something illegal, and I think get a 6-month or more prison sentence, suspended or not, then they are automatically disqualified from holding office, and there's a by-election. If someone decides that they've fallen out with the party they were elected for, unfortunately, we don't have any power to force a by-election. I would say that there was a by-election recently when one Labour councillor resigned in December, and we were quite successful in Brockmore in Pensett in winning that. And I think, in a nutshell, people don't like to resign and cause a by-election because the likelihood is, if it's a ward where you've elected a Labour councillor or a Lib Dem or a Conservative, the likelihood is that if you defect to another party, the thing is that your former party may well win that by-election, and that's why people don't have the strength of their convictions and continue for the rest of the term.
Yeah, okay. It happens quite frequently, so... I've got a question from Mr. Mark Robinson. How many businesses does Mr. Harley run which gets a procurement from the council?
Absolutely zero, Mr. Robinson. Absolutely zero. And if I can enlighten that, he's probably alluding to my son's tarmacking business, which I don't have any involvement in at all. I'm not a shareholder. Although the dad of bank did help set it up, and I think sure many fathers and parents will sympathise with that. But he's doing very well, and I'm extremely proud of him. The pub that I own and run is also nothing to do with Dudley Council. So, in essence, absolutely zero.
Right, thank you. I'm thinking that this one might be an individual question, and it's a query on behalf of a mom with 2 SEND kids. A very slow process in finding new housing, asking what we're doing to increase the housing stock. The actual question is from Dave Munden. Hi, Dave. I'm presently working with 2 councillors who are helping with a disabled lady who has SEND kids. She is in the process of being evicted, and the council are dragging their feet on the housing. What's the plan for increasing council housing stock, and would you be willing for a private meeting to help this lady in her plight?
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to have a private meeting with this lady. If you can email me the details, Dave, then we can set something up. Obviously, it sounds a very, very personal case with some complex issues, so we wouldn't be right to discuss it live on Facebook. But email me, let's set it up, and then hopefully we can make some progress.
Okay, the next question is from Andrea Jane. When are you going to pay for things like replacing wheelie bins that your dustbin employees break when emptying them? We shouldn't have to pay for the damage that's caused by the council.
I absolutely agree. I think Andrea, is it? Andrea Jane? Yeah, I absolutely agree. And when I have my own constituents, My advice would be to write to your own ward councillors with that issue, because my constituents, when they've written to me, whether I'm leader of the council or not, 9 times out of 10 I've managed to get them a replacement bin. Clearly there are cases when it's not the bin men that have damaged the bins, and it is neglect by the tenant or resident themselves. And in that case, clearly it's not right that the council pays for a replacement, and the resident should. However, when there's a clear example, and clear examples where it's been done by either the bin wagon, and there was a case a few months ago where the bins were being damaged at exactly the same point, so it was clearly a defect on the vehicle, and we got a few of those replaced. So my advice is contact your ward councillors first. They should be your first port of call. If you get no joy there, then feel free to email myself. I'll probably get thousands of requests there for new green bins, but hey ho.
The next question is from Stephen Hill. Can you fix broken bollards around Dudley? Lots have been reported many months with no fix. Sandwell fixed theirs in 2 days.
Okay, if the officers forward that one to me, I'll make sure that that's looked at. If we can get the exact locations, yeah, we can do that.
Right. The next question is from Teresa Hughes. Why are you selling off council housing stock?
I think I've answered that one earlier, but I'll just reiterate quickly again. If a house is 70, 80, getting close to 100 years old, and in such a state of disrepair, that it would cost far too much for us to modify and make fit for purpose, fit for people to live in the 21st century, then you are better off selling those off en bloc to a developer or a housing provider who has the necessary funds to invest in them. And then the proceeds from that are then reinvested into our current stock, and as one person's asked earlier on, into also purchasing or building new council stock.
Thank you. Another question from Steph Bullock. Hi, Steph. Why are the council selling houses on auctions up north and not giving local families a chance? We have houses in our streets which are now being advertised for £1,300 per month.
Again, as I've alluded to in previous questions on this issue, it is a case of it's just not financially viable for the council to spend money on these properties. Other people can, and any proceeds from that we then reinvest back into our current housing stock.
Okay, thank you. The next question may be on the council tax reduction scheme. It's from a Shane Westwood. Why has the council tax gone to 60% for people to pay who are unemployed in Dudley when other councils around the country charge less?
What I would say on this matter is this is not a statutory scheme. And as I've said earlier on, the council had to make some difficult decisions. And one of those was reducing the council tax reduction scheme. What I would say ours is set at 40%. Other authorities up and down the country are far less. Some are 30%, some are 20%. Ours is at 40%. However, if people are struggling, there is a contingency fund that people can apply to get assistance from. And I think those details will be on the council's website where people can find that and apply for that financial assistance if they fit the criteria.
Thank you. The next question may overlap with an earlier query, but I think it's an interesting question and certainly one that's been negotiated. It's from Debbie Collins, and it's free parking for an hour could help footfall in Dudley.
Well, I'm aware that the decision to not carry on with the free 2 hours wasn't popular at all. It wasn't popular amongst ourselves, the decision makers who made it, I can tell you. But as I've alluded to earlier in the Facebook session, we would really like to do something with this. And as our finances improve, I'm hopeful that we can look at this and revisit this. Will we ever have 2 hours free car parking? Again, I very much doubt it. But we certainly want to do something to help traders and local retailers within not just Dudley Town Centre, but across King Springford, across Sedgley, across all our town centres, Stairbridge, Briley Hill, etc. So yes, we would really like to do something. As our finances improve, then hopefully we can start to reinvest. It's not just car parking, but it's other services as well that we had to reduce. But as we said at the outset of this journey, on to get financial stability, as we reduce, hopefully as we improve, we can then go back and revisit some of these schemes and policies in order to make sure that as we improve, so does everybody else.
Absolutely. The next question is from Kate Riggs. Hi, Kate. Can you explain why DMBC are still working with Aldi Wollaston in providing access to the Dell open space for continued ground investigations? Despite the planning application being refused by councillors, the planning authority should now be preparing a robust defence to support the decision for refusal in an appeal. Not assisting Aldi in their case, surely. This seems very much a conflict of interest in favour of the perusing the sale of the land subject to approval and already in the latter stages of contract negotiations. How do we get reassurance that this will lead to the local community and the decisions of the local planning authority council and the councillors are being respected? If they aren't, it calls into question why we have a planning committee in the first place.
Well, on the last part of that, Kate, and it's good to hear from you, on the last part of that question, why do we have a planning committee in the first place? Well, as I recall, that application was recommended for approval. Every single one of those councillors on the planning committee voted against officers' recommendations. That cannot send any clearer signal that when the issue is relevant and it's important to local residents, that you have councillors who stand up for what they believe is right, not just for their own ward, but for wards across the borough. That is a clear indication that the planning committee stood up for what they felt was right. On the rest of your question, I dare not stray into the rights and wrongs. That application has gone to appeal. The council are preparing a robust defence of that decision as we speak, but because of the legalities around that appeal, it wouldn't be wise to comment any further. But rest assured, there will be a robust defence of the decision that the planning committee took.
Yeah, just to add to that, it would have probably most likely been under the terms of the original contract that was written up. So, yeah. We have a question from Councillor Andrew Tromans.
As Councillor Andrew Tromans got nothing better to do than to keep harassing me. I'm joking, Andrew, I'm joking.
And the Stourbridge Lion team. Could we look to bring back Rock, the Castle, or something similar in future to support the young musicians?
That's a very good question, and it's something that I'd have to take up with other partners. It's not something I could answer as council leader because
it was something we used to do with Dudley Performing Arts.
I think was it Dudley Performing Arts and the zoo as well? I'm not sure. But that's something that we could look into, Andrew.
It certainly is something we could look into.
And I think as the developers and investors make their presence felt, particularly in Stone Street Square, and also once the ice rink starts to get under construction, that will also provide great opportunities for people to perform at different levels, be they small local bands, local individual acts, or much larger ones. But on Andrew's request, if he gets in touch with us, I'm sure we can look into that and try and do what we can.
Yeah, okay. We have another question from Dave Munden. With the ever-declining shops in Dudley, what are the council doing to increase footfall and entice businesses into Dudley and the surrounding areas?
Well, what we're doing, Dave, is we've worked our absolute socks off in trying to secure a 3,000 capacity ice rink in the middle of Dudley Town Centre. Now, that won't help, well, it will help the other town centres, but predominantly it will help Dudley Town Centre. And when you've got 3,000 people milling around the town, they will want somewhere to eat, they will want somewhere to drink. I would hope that they'll stay in Dudley for more than one night because of the tourist attractions that we've got here within the borough. And I say not just in Dudley Town Centre, but across the borough. And it's when you've got that increased footfall and anchor site that other investors will come along that will want to invest in wine bars, cafes, eateries, perhaps new shops, new niche shops that can bring in more increased footfall. But to start with that, you have to have an anchor site. And for me, it is the ice rink. And we've been working on that for the last 4 years. And we are now so close to that planning application. And once that goes in and the ice rink is built, the investment from developers and businessmen that want to have a piece of that action, of that increased footfall, I think will be fantastic. And then, like us throwing a stone into the water, as you get the ripples coming out, you will get further investment into Stourbridge, Halsowing and Brierley Hill and our smaller townships. but it is about securing that anchor site. People said we were mad and crazy, that it would never happen in Dudley. It is happening, and that will be the anchor site that is the catalyst for so much investment and regeneration, not just in Dudley Town Centre, but in all our town centres.
And talking on anchor sites for Dudley, we've got a question from Paul Winchurch. Could you tell me if there are any plans for the Portersfield site, as apparently investors are queuing up? Also, what will happen to the Council Plus building as Castle Street is almost empty now?
Yeah, the first one, Portersfield, that is progressing well. It's now in the hands of the lawyers, and as ever, when these things are in the hands of the lawyers, there is always a blip and delay. But it is with the lawyers on both sides, so I think progress is being made. And I think once they've come and signed on the dotted line, then I think, you know, we can start to make pace on Portersfield. It's far too slow for my liking, as well as Paul's. But it is a problematic site. It's not an easy site to develop. There are many owners on that site, and trying to weave through all of them is a legal minefield, but I think we're very close. On the second part of the question with the old Dudley Council Plus building, obviously that was going to be the site of the proposed academy for, in association with Star Academies and Eton College. That site was deemed no longer suitable because of the financial burden on the council. We found an alternative site, and we were waiting news from the Department for Education on whether that scheme progresses or not. If it does progress, it would be great for the town centre. As regards the site as it is now almost empty. That is a prime development site, and already I can guarantee Paul, and hopefully satisfy his curiosity, that I've already personally, along with the head of regeneration, walked two potential investors around the lower part of the high street and taken them to that site, and they are extremely interested in doing something with that development. That is a prime development, and I think along with the ice rink, with the redevelopment of the Trident Centre, and with an entertainment hub in Stone Street, Dudley Town Centre has a very, very bright future.
Thank you. We have a question from Sean Latham. When can we expect a change in the local offer for care experienced young people?
Sean, this is not my this is not my field of expertise at all, and to give you a full and comprehensive answer, I'll refer this to the Cabinet member and the appropriate officer. But I'll have your email details, and I will get back to you tomorrow without fail.
Yeah. There's not too much detail there, I'm afraid, but if the local authority is working with apprenticeships as such, we do actually do a scheme in Dudley where we do help our young care experienced. Okay, the next question, sorry if I've totally got that the wrong way, there's not a lot of information. We have a question from Sue Seal. Mm-hmm. What are the plans for the empty Wilco and WH Smith at the top of Halesoe in town? It has usually affected footfall to small businesses.
Again, if those are private premises that are now empty, then the council doesn't have a lot of sway there with who goes in there. Clearly, we want these buildings to become habited by new businesses as soon as possible. And I would hope that the regeneration team can try and encourage and entice people to come as quickly as possible. But as I've said earlier, sometimes you need that anchor site to entice that investment and regeneration.
Okay. We have a question from Marilyn Beattie. Dudley Adult Social Care held an amazing meeting today, enabling carers to be involved in dementia care within Dudley. Well done, Dudley Council. I don't think there's a question there, sorry.
But again, with Marilyn, thank you very much for that. It's I wouldn't say it's rare to get praise sometimes. We have many residents that ring in quite satisfied with the service that the council are providing across the board, whether it be adult social care, whether it's children's, whether it's fixing a pothole, fixing a street light, or just doing some street cleansing. But although it's quite rare, when it does happen, it's extremely, we receive that, and we're extremely grateful for that praise. And I'm glad that things are moving in the right direction, because I know what service you're referring to, and I'm glad that things are moving in the right direction, and that people are, I wouldn't say happy, but pleased that the right steps are being taken now.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from Alice Twomey. There are constant issues with antisocial behaviour on our roads. particularly from Manor Way down to the A456 and beyond, from 11 p.m. midnight when the PCSOs clock off. What are you and the local police doing to resolve this issue?
Well, the first thing we're doing, Alice, is we're having this Facebook Live session now, where you can raise that issue directly with the leader and the deputy leader of the council. I think the police do have to do more. That's the first thing. We have to work more in partnership. And I think when an issue like this is raised by a resident like yourself, I think it would be good for us and the police to get together and have a proper operation of how we deal with this. But it comes back to our earlier conversation about having that zero tolerance on ASB. There are some issues of ASB that are reported, and quite frankly, people pull their hair out because either the council or the police appear to be taking no action. And I think we have to stop that perception. And when that perception is correct, we have to make sure that our teams are on the ball and dealing with it in a very proactive manner. But that also means that our partners, be it police or other bodies, have to also step up to the table and also perform and make sure that residents' needs and concerns are met. And again, if you email me the details, I'll pick that up from the officers who were present, and I'll personally get in touch and see what we can do.
We have a question from Nikki Highfield. The people of Dudley need a local facility for large rubbish items. Why is there just tip one near Councillor Harley's house? We have a 17-mile round trip. Well,
unfortunately, I think you're misinformed, Nikki. There's no tip near my house. You may be referring to the tip at Womben, which is in South Staffordshire. Now, some years ago now, negotiations between ourselves and Wolverhampton City Council broke down on the use of their tip. In any case, it would simply be too expensive now to go to Anchor Lane, although I would still be open to do a deal with them if that price was right. And remember, if we are paying Wolverhampton City Council an extortionate sum to use Anchor Lane tip, that is council tax money that is being used for that. Now, we did set up pop-up tips, which I believe are very popular. As our finances improve, I'd like to see whether we could possibly revisit that concept. There's also talk of whether we could have a more centrally located municipal site. That's not easy to do, and it's not cheap to set up either. But it is an issue, but it's not an issue we are ignoring, and Cabinet colleagues are constantly talking about how we can resolve this issue once and for all.
We have a question from Carl Finn. What was the decision to close Dudley Council Plus up at Dudley Town Centre, as in if you need to hand in keys to any reason, as having building work done to the property through on the council moving property due to family members passing away? How do you suppose people are able to hand the keys back to Dudley Council when there's no Dudley Council Plus anymore in Dudley Centre?
Well, on the first point, I've already explained why Dudley Council Plus was closed from there. We were getting very few footfall through the doors, and plus the fact that it was designated as a key regeneration site for the aforementioned Eton/Star Academy sixth form college. A lot of people simply stopped using Dudley Council Plus and made their inquiries through either telephone or online. Now, on the second part of the question, if people have keys to hand in, the vast majority now are handing them through for the local housing officer. Very few tenants are actually bringing keys back up to Dudley Council Plus. So that was part of the reasoning also behind why we closed it and moved operations to online, or indeed around libraries and other community centre strokes buildings that the council owns throughout the borough. And in my own ward of Kingswingford South, I believe there are some facilities to talk to officers who would have been at Dudley Council Plus at the library in Kingswingford. They're not there all the time because I think we rotate them around the borough. So I think as people are handing in keys and giving up tenancies, either through bereavement or through any other reason, then liaise with the housing officer is the best route to hand back keys. And as I said, that could be through local libraries, or it could be through housing officers coming to collect them.
The housing hubs, yeah.
Housing hubs, yeah.
The next question is from Emily Jevons. When will the play area equipment at Mary Stevens Park get repaired or replaced? It's been in disrepair for many, many months. Funding needs to be found to keep DMBC parks and playgrounds to a safe and good standard.
Well, I think Mary Stevens Park had a lot of investment over many years, and it's a shame if that equipment is being either put into a state of disrepair through vandalism or other means. As an administration, we've invested a lot in bringing play equipment up to speed at quite a few parks and play areas. Now, we can't do every park and play area. That would just be financially untenable to do that all in one go. But there is a programme where hopefully we get round to parks and play areas as and when we can. On the Mary Stevens one, again, raise that with your 3 ward councillors to begin with, and then they can obviously approach the relevant officer stroke cabinet member to see whether at some point we can put that on the programme of refurbishment and repairs.
And sometimes the parks are refurbished through 106 monies.
Indeed.
So again, contact your councillors and ask them to...
And another point, there is a friends group, very proactive friends group there, as well as the first port of call being the 3 ward members. I think the second or even first point of call should be through the friends group, because they will possibly have a plan of action to refurbish that play area, either through council funding or through going through the voluntary sector or charities such as, I mean, in my ward, we managed to get the play area there refurbished through a lot of assistance through Tesco, for instance. So it's not just about the council providing the funding, although we will do all the groundwork with officer work to make sure that the equipment is robust and suitable for what use it's intended. But local councillors and friends groups are the first port of call.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have a question from Glenn Flurry. Any update on Sycamore Adventure Playground, please?
Well, again, I'll refer to Paul, who's been dealing with the officers in corporate landlord.
Well, I will be absolutely honest, I haven't had an update recently, but I can add that they will be staying.
Yeah.
We have got the finances for them for the next 5 years, but they are being treated differently, and going forward we will be still looking for providers to express interest, but hopefully that can be done within the council remit.
And just to ease Glenn's peace of mind there, as Paul's alluded to, the budget's set for 5 years. Therefore, as far as we're concerned, we would ideally like a partner to come in and run it for us, because I believe they would do it far more efficiently than we can. However, the budget is set for 5 years, and as far as I'm concerned, the Sycamore Centre is going nowhere at all during those 5 years, whether we get a partner or not.
But we have time to make...
We do.
Sensible.
And we have time to do it slowly and correctly without rushing into any decisions that we would regret at a later stage.
Thank you. We have a question from Mark Robinson. How many hotels are being used to house migrants? If so, where is the money coming from? Okay,
Mark, I will answer this very bluntly. We have one, as far as I'm aware, one hotel. And obviously I won't disclose where that is, but we have one in the whole borough. And a few years ago, the Home Office, with the quite disgraceful behaviour from their contractor Serco, imposed people on us in several hotels. They sent the usual email to the leader of the council, myself, thanking me for my cooperation. I was like Jerry Lee Lewis on the keyboards, replying because I hadn't been consulted and I knew nothing about this until they'd actually done the deed. Regardless to say, legal action was threatened against hotels, because on this basis they would not be hotels anymore, they would be hostels, and the council would quite willingly grant planning permission, but when the refugees or asylum seekers were removed, we would not be so quick to reverse that planning permission, therefore they would no longer be hotels. Regardless to say, they were moved to other areas of the West Midlands. We still have them in one hotel, and for reasons I won't go into, they remain there. But Dudley does not take, we take the lowest share of asylum seekers out of any authority in the West Midlands, and I believe that is due to our robust action. And I will criticise when I feel I need to. You know, the Home Office is not fit for purpose. It wasn't fit for purpose under my party's government. It's not fit for purpose under the current Labour government, and I dare say it won't be fit for purpose whoever wins the next general election. local authorities are bullied and they are picked on and they have placements put upon them without their consent. And all council leaders, whether it's myself here, whether it's George Duggins, who is a Labour leader in Coventry, whether it's Wolverhampton, whether it's Walsall, which is a Conservative-led authority, we are all rightfully brassed off with the behaviour of the Home Office, and in particular Serco, who I think should never be given another government contract again. They are absolutely appalling in the way they treat local authorities. As regards to the cost and who pays, that cost comes from central government. But regardless, we take a very robust stance on this issue, and I hope that's satisfied your inquiry.
Yeah, I've been party to some of that bullying and enforcement that they push on us. Another question, a question from a D. Smith. Could you say if Churchview Care Home in Gornal will be going up for sale as it's been empty for quite a while?
I believe this is on the register of surplus assets. So at some point, it will be put up for sale.
Right, I've got a question from Kerry Stevens. I've been with the homeless team for almost 12 months and have been found nowhere to live. I have 4 children in a 2-bedroom house that has been sold. I have been given till the 28th of May to get out of my house, or the bailiffs will be at my door.
Okay, I think this one needs someone from the housing team to get back to the individual, I would say ASAP. So we've got the details and we'll make sure that someone gets back to you ASAP.
I got one from Sarah Glaze, because I'm mindful of time. Do you own Manor Park? Do you own Manor Park? Excuse me. Do you own the Manor car park, or I've heard you rent it?
I tell you what, Sarah, you're throwing me there. I've always understood that we own it. I mean, we're having the income from the car parking charges on there, so I would presume that we own it. Obviously, it's the car park that serves the pub there, the other retailers there, and of course the former co-op it used to serve. So as far as I'm concerned, we own it. But if I stand corrected, I stand corrected.
Okay. And we'll just take the last 2 questions.
Okay.
One from Mark Hedges. What is the current council view on HMOs, and would these be pushed through despite planning rejection?
So I mean, Paul's more up to date on planning application line. But what I would say on HMOs, some of them are very good. Some of them are poorly designed and an abhorrence in our neighbourhoods. Some are rejected by the planning committee. Some go through. But I'll let Paul give his view because he served as deputy chair of the planning committee for many years.
Well, if it does go to committee, then it would be open to appeal. If the HMO does appeal, it goes down to Bristol, where the inspectorate takes their view and they can overturn a local decision. Okay. But no, it doesn't just go through to rejection, and we certainly don't do that. Last question. Sorry about this, guys. It's from a K Highway. Good evening, Councillor Harley. I have requested improvements to the entrance of my home, as I have 2 disabled children with 1 mobility issues. The other with problems that also affect safe access. I have, after assessment and speaking to the housing manager, been told that nothing can be done, but I could be moved. We don't want to move. Can anything be done to improve the 12 steps up to my house? Okay, Kate, obviously I have no idea where you reside, so I can't really comment, but what I can promise to do is get in touch over the next few days and see what can be done. So the officers will have the email, they'll have your contact details, and if that's okay, I'll be in touch and see what we can do to help your individual case. Right then, we hope that people have found this as interesting and as useful as we have. We've had some useful discussions about a lot of subjects. Any questions we've not managed to answer in the time, we will get back to you as quickly as we can. And in the meantime, thank you all for taking the time to get in touch with us over this evening, to have your say and share your thoughts and concerns with us. And it leaves me to say good night. Good night.